Welcome to Student Connections, our students connecting with our community.
Hello and welcome to Student Connections on M6, your hometown station. I'm your host, Tom Moses, and today we are talking to the General Manager of RadioFirst's, Scott Shigley. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, so RadioFirst is located in downtown Port Huron. How many stations operate from that facility?
We actually have four stations, different formats in there. We have 3 AMs, and we also have three FMs, but one of them is what we call an FM translator. It's attached to one of our AM stations so that we can play music on that. But we have Q Country 107 as WSAQ. 96.9 WBTI is one of our FM stations, and then Rock 105.5 is an alternative rock station that's on an FM signal on 105.5. And then we have WPHM, which is a news talk station. It's an AM station, 1380. And then WHLS 1450 and WHLX 1590. And those both play the rock station as well.
That's a lot to keep track of.
It's a lot to keep track of, for sure. We're very fortunate. We also have, not just with the radio stations, but we have digital signals for them as well, apps for every one of the radio stations. So you've got the apps for them, and then also websites for each one of them too. So each station has a website, has a stream, and then also we have the signals on top of that. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Is there a required amount of time you have to air PSAs and commercials on the radio?
We're not, we have to operate in the public's best interest. I mean, we are regulated by the Federal Communications Commission, so we have to apply for our license, and we have to demonstrate that we're operating in the community interest. So we do run public service announcements. We're not necessarily required to run, a certain amount, but we do our best to do that. I mean, we're very active in the community. I mean, one of the big events throughout the years, our country station does an event or a week-long worth of broadcasts on top of the Birchwood Mall for the Child Abuse Neglect Council, where our morning show personality, Chuck Santoni, lives up on the mall for a week. I don't know if you'd want to live up on the mall for a week, but it's kind of tough. But they raised over $130,000 last year for that, and we do other things similar to that with each of our stations to try and aid community charitable foundation. So
it's a great thing to do for the community.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I think that one of the things that's a little bit different about us, I think, than other radio stations in markets our size, we have a lot of people on the air live. I know it might sound kind of weird, but there's a lot of stations that will have people that aren't necessarily in that market. They'll be recorded, and people will think that that they're listening to somebody live on the air, but they're really not. We make a real big commitment to make sure that there's live people on the air that can be involved in our community, that they can build relationships with, and we do that with all of our stations. So,
what companies do you have partnerships with?
Oh gosh, I mean, we have we have a lot of partnerships in the community. I mean, obviously with some of the big events that we do charity-wise, there are sponsors that help us to put those programs on. I mean, certainly when you have a lot of people that are on the air, that's a big expense. So you have to generate revenue in order to make sure that you can pay for all those things. And we're very fortunate. We have, whether it's the hospitals, all the area businesses in town that do work with us. We're very fortunate to have a lot of good relationships.
So do you have local talent hosting the shows, or do you partner with a network?
We do. I mean, majority of our stuff is people that are here. We think obviously that's very important. I mean, one of the things that's changed a lot is music. Is certainly very, very important. It's a big part about what we do. But you have to have personalities on the air that people in the community know and they like. So most of our people are here. The biggest I guess exception to that is on our AM news talk station. We do have quite a bit of programming that's provided by NBC Sports Radio. We have a local morning show. Paul Miller does our local morning show on the News Talk station. But then what we do is we have NBC Sports. And the reason why we put that on was because we carry the Tigers, the Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, Michigan State, Michigan. We carry all this different sports programming. And we also have a local sports director, Dennis Stuckey, who's on the air from 3 to 5 every day. But we needed something that was going to bridge that gap from our morning drive until we get to that sports program. So if somebody just happened to punch in and they were looking for a Tiger game, that we'd have at least a reasonable shot to keep them listening if it was something that they were interested in, and that's why we put the sports on there. But that's really the only big example that we have of. I'm not a big fan of syndicated programming. I really prefer to have. I feel like you have to have local people on the air. So that's what we try and concentrate our efforts on.
It is nice to get the community involved. How does Radio First contribute to the community through donations and airtime, other than what you've already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we've already talked about. I mean, we typically identify one charitable group that we'll work with each station. I mean, that's not to suggest that we don't talk about, like this morning we had on the AM station, we had the YMCA on talking about their major fundraising campaign that's going on in the month of May. We certainly want to give them access so that we can talk about that and the money that they need to raise to help their programs. But like the Child Abuse and Neglect Council with the country station, I mean, if we were going on the air and asking for money 12 months out of the year, it would be tough. As I tell people, we would love to be involved with. There's a lot of great charities, a lot of great organizations in our community that we could do something for all of them. And the fact is that at that point, though, we'd probably be doing a lot of things and nothing particularly well. So what we do is we try and identify a group that we feel like really has a strong organization that will really help to maximize the amount of exposure that we're able to give them and partner with them. And then that makes it a little bit easier for us to have some focus, as to like really making a difference in some of those organizations. But yeah, I mean, we talk about. Gosh, I mean, I get, I get letters every day, from people asking, for some exposure, and we have to be, kind of careful because, people invest a lot of money in advertising on a radio station, and when something's not a song or information or content that they're really looking for, it can be an interruption. And if we have too many of those things happening during our programs, we run the risk of kind of losing listeners, and we can't do that. So we have to really kind of balance that. We certainly want to be able to give people access to get their message out, but then we also it's good when they advertise too. I mean, if we didn't have advertisers, we wouldn't be on the air. So we hope that a lot of the organizations that do have charitable events and things that are going on realize that, and really the free things that we're able to give them, they really can help maximize their exposure if they're able to do some actual advertising along with that. So yeah,
you're really just trying to find the best organization to put your trust in for charity.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what you do is you want to identify those. When you look at charities, right? I mean, what you're really looking for is high levels of organization, right? So that that if you're able to, like, for example, like just to use the Can Council again, they're highly organized. They do things throughout the year. And that week, we know that they're going to maximize that week's long worth of exposure. And to generate, when you think about this, do you know how many people are in St. Clair County?
No.
Okay. There's 160,000 people in St. Clair County, right? And over the course of a week, to raise $130,000 is incredible. I mean, when you think about that, I mean, that's almost $1 for every single person that is in the county. Now, I'd love to sit here and take 100% of the credit for that and say, yeah, our radio station is the one that did that. I mean, we certainly are the driver behind it, but you don't do that without partnering with an organization that reaches out to the community outside of just the things that you're doing for them on the radio station. So those are some of the things that we certainly consider when we look at how we want to, give back.
So let's go back to talking about host. Radio First has some seasonal host. Can you tell me some of their personalities and the topics they cover?
Sure. Chuck just to start with the country station, I mean, Chuck Santoni's been here. I think this will be his 13th year. But he runs the morning show, and he's on with a lady, Jenna Justin, is his co-host. But he's on in the morning. Kurt Howard's on in the afternoon. We have Ben Coburn, who is on the afternoons on WBTI. He's the program director for WBTI as well as Rock 105.5. We have Conrad and Casey on in the morning on WBTI. Matt Markham is our afternoon personality on the alternative station. And Paul Miller and Bill Gilmer are really the two big names on WPHM. But yeah, I mean, it's funny, when you're operating smaller market radio stations, what usually happens is that it's kind of like running a sports team. So I don't know, do you have a favorite sports team?
Probably the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions, okay. Well, there's a salary cap in football, right? So what you have to do is you have to really identify, like, okay, here are our core people, and these are the people that we really don't want to leave, that really can kind of make up the backbone of our organization, right? It's kind of similar, because we don't have like an unlimited budget that we can use. So what we do is we identify those people, and they're the ones that we kind of build the stations around. And then what we do is we supplement them with some young, most of the time it's younger talent or people that are newer to the radio business. And what we do is we offer them an opportunity to come in, learn their profession, help them grow, and part of our job is to help them move on to other careers in other markets where they might be able to make more money and further their career down the road. So that's kind of how our operation is built, is kind of around that philosophy. So we're very lucky, though. I mean, we have some very sharp people that are in charge of our stations, and they do a really, really good job. And on top of that, you have to have an engineer. We have a chief engineer, Sean Richardson, who's just incredible. The guy does a great job, but you can imagine having to be an engineer for 4 different formats. He's an IT guy. I mean, if anybody's ever interested in a job that'll never go away, I would say go to school and learn how to be an engineer in the radio business, because you'll never be without a job if you know what you're doing, and we're very fortunate to have a guy like that too.
Okay. Can you explain in detail what the $1,000 every week all summer is?
Yeah, what you're referring to is one of the things I've been kind of pushing just in the region here is that I feel like we really have to make a push towards tourism in our community. And so I was trying to think of like, how can we utilize the radio stations to really push that forward? And so there's really, I guess, just kind of back up for a second. We have a lot of great assets here in our community, right? I mean, it's a great place to visit. If you're not from here, it's amazing how people come here and they experience what the Port Huron area is about, and they'll say, wow, I never knew that this existed, and this is a really great place. Well, there's not $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million laying around the community for us to advertise our area. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to utilize the people that live in our community and really make them our greatest advocates. And the really cool thing is and you don't remember the days before there was no social media, but there was a time when that didn't exist. But now it's never been easier, for people to share pictures and videos and the great things about their community. So what we've done is we created 3 social media sites that are called #SharePortHuron. And what we're asking listeners to do is we want them to send us their pictures and videos of their favorite things to do in our communities, okay? And so what we do, they send it to each, they can go to any one of our radio stations, and there's a place where they can upload their picture to us, and then we post it on all of the social media sites, the #SharePortHuron sites. That's happening right now. So we're accepting pictures, we're posting them. We also have a website that's called SharePortHuron.com where people can enter as well. But what's going to happen is once we get to Memorial Weekend, that's kind of the first week of the summertime in our community. Every Friday throughout the summer, we're going to give away $1,000 in cash to whichever picture or video has the most likes across all 3 of those platforms. So what we want to do is we want people to share that picture with us, but then are you on social media?
No, not really.
Okay, well, if you were, like a lot of people have networks, right, of friends and people that they have. What we really want to encourage, though, is not people just to send us a picture, but we want them to copy that link to their picture on the hashtag SharePort Huron pages and share it with their friends and say, hey, Tom, we really want you to, hey, like this picture for me. I could win $1,000 if I have the most likes. Because what we want to see is we want to see those pictures kind of pushed out to all, other networks where people will look at it and say, wow, where is that place? And create some interest and ideally want people to kind of put us on their calendar as a place to come visit. Because, right now, I mean, if you think about, the top travel destinations in the state, we want Port Huron to be at the top of that list, and this is just a way for us to try and make that happen. So we started this program this year. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. I mean, we're giving away $14,000 in cash over the course of the summer, but we did partner with the Blue Water Convention and Visitors Bureau, bluewater.org. So they, are our presenting sponsor on that. So that really allows us to dedicate the airtime to it, because we're going to do over $250,000 worth of airtime between the 1st of April and the first part of September, which is a lot of exposure. So yeah, we're excited. I think it's going to be a great program. I think we already have over 200 pictures, that are affiliated with it, and people are starting to get likes. And I think once people start realizing that they're actually going to win $1,000 in cash, I think it's really going to jump that program even more.
Yeah, I think it's a really amazing thing to do.
Well, I mean, to me, it's low-hanging fruit. I mean, you have people. I mean, if I pulled, I had pulled my cell phone out right now, you'd see hundreds of pictures of things from around our community. And so all we're asking people to do is upload those pictures, send them to us. We'll put them up there, and I mean, hey, you might win $1,000. And it's nice for local businesses too. I mean, if you have a restaurant, there's really nothing short of, if somebody sends us an inappropriate picture, we're not going to use it. But if they send us a picture from their restaurant, we're going to put it up there. Use it. It'd be, it's free advertising. So we think that it could be a great driver as far as just building exposure for people in our community. So we're excited about it. I think it's a new idea. I've never heard, most of the ideas I come up with, Tom, honestly, are not new. They're stolen from someplace else and they work someplace else. This is a new idea, and I think we might really have something special here if we can pull it off. But it's just going to take participation from the community.
So you cover high school sports.
We do.
Why do you think it is important to the community for you to do that?
Well, I think most schools, I mean, Marysville included, right? I mean, it's a kind of a activity that a lot of people kind of rally around and are involved in. But it's a way for us to really highlight, achievement from student athletes at different schools around the area. Something that we've done a little bit different that's not been done in the past is that we have a stream, a web stream on WPHM, and that's where we do all of our broadcasts. The reason why we do it on the streams is because at night, I don't know if you guys noticed, but at night sometimes like AM signals tend to get a lot smaller, like your coverage area goes down quite a bit. This ensures that the signal is crystal clear the entire time. Do you have relatives that live outside the area?
Yeah.
Okay. So like let's say that you played basketball, okay, and you had a game and your grandmother lived in Grand Rapids. Well, the cool thing now is that she could listen to your game through the stream if she has a computer or a phone or whatever, some kind of a device where she could access the internet. So we've gotten a lot of really great feedback about that, and the other good part is that before, our high school sports were always on WHLS on 1450 and 1590 AM. That would be the only place that we would promote it. Well, now, because it's through a stream, all of our radio stations go on the air. So like our country station will come on the air and they'll say, hey, don't miss our game of the week. Tonight's Marysville, St. Clair baseball. Make sure you check us out on our stream. Go to the website and click on our high school sports icon. So we can use all of our radio stations now to promote high school sports, which is a really great thing, because before we would just have one station and that was it.
So next, if you don't mind, we're going to move on to some personal questions.
Sure.
How did you get into the radio broadcasting scene?
Honestly, I've started out in doing sports games. I was at the University of Michigan and did worked for the radio station there. Found out I wasn't really that good at it. You know, I'm not, and that you didn't make a whole lot of money coming out of school on the air. Now it's a lot of fun. We have some people that are very good at it, but I realized that that's probably wasn't the best path for me. But I did enjoy the creative side of it. So when it came to creating commercials and advertising, that was interesting to me. So I went into the advertising sales side of the business, and I worked, and I've been working that side of it up until this day. But yeah, that was kind of what got me interested in the business. But I've always had a lot of interest in the programming side of it, yeah. So it's been, gosh, it's almost 25 years now, but it's flown by. It's a great business. We're very lucky. I mean, if you think about most media, when you look at how media is transitioned, newspaper is very difficult, because you've gone from a printed page where you can turn the pages and you can see the ads, on it, to a device where if somebody would have told me 15 years ago I was going to read the newspaper every day on my phone, I'd have said, you're nuts. I mean, that's not going to happen, but I do. But it's really tough because it's hard to place advertising and generate revenue to support, the content that you're providing. That's a really tough thing. And I love newspaper. I think newspaper is an important part of our community. I mean, it's a check and balance, really, to make sure if you need good reporting, right? So that's a tough hurdle that I'm sure they'll figure out a way to overcome it. But even television, I don't know, do you have cable still?
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at cable now, a lot of people are getting rid of it because there are ways that you can consume it in so many different ways. I still have it, but the day that I can get Fox Sports Detroit directly, I don't know that I'll need it anymore. So there's some really interesting things. But radio, I mean, we're very lucky. I mean, the way that we're consumed online through streams is exactly the way that we're consumed over the air. So you'll hear like 5 or 6 songs, and then you'll hear 3 or 4 commercials. Same thing happens on the stream. So, we're really lucky in that regard because you still have to figure out a way. You've got to generate revenue. If you can't generate revenue, you can't continue to provide the content that you provide every single day. So, for us, we've been very lucky that that's the case.
What inspired you to join Radio First?
Well, I've lived in this community since like 2001. But I worked down in Detroit before that. Worked down there for like 10 years. But the gentleman that ran the radio stations he was here for almost 45 years, was getting ready to retire. And so asked if I'd be interested in coming up here and taking over for him when he was ready to retire. So it was a pretty easy decision for me because to get, it's an hour drive back and forth each way. But you get a chance to work and live in your own community and be able to run that many radio stations with that many different formats is a great challenge, but it's a lot of fun. So it's been a good opportunity for me.
Well, thank you for coming in today, Scott.
Sure. Yep, thank you, Tom.
Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Tom Moses, and this has been Student Connections on M6, your hometown station.